How could I end up here again? Do you often ask yourself this question when reaching a certain point in your relationships? The partner turned out to be a liar. A new friend soon started to abuse you for their own interests. Or maybe you're chasing someone yet again, with almost no hope for reciprocation. You're just repeating the pattern of unhealthy, but very familiar to our brain, relationships. It's great that you've noticed it. Starting from this point, you can break out of it and introduce yourself to the world of respectful and fulfilling connections. Let's find out the ways toward it in today's episode.
It's an informative podcast about mental wellness from HeyZen. Here, we debunk myths, discuss hot topics, and give practical advice to improve your mental health. It will be funny, insightful, and impressive.
First, we need to understand how these unhealthy relationship patterns are formed. And the answer is yes, childhood. Before the age of 3, our brain creates patterns for how to interact with others and how others interact with us. Some parents are loving and attentive, which makes a child believe in the inherent safety of the people around them. Some are a bit too loving and attentive, and the dynamics can lead to a child's belief that they can't do anything on their own and that they always need protectors or some strong figures to support them. And well, sometimes parents don't meet the needs of their children in love and attention. And this is when a child can develop the mindset that they're unworthy of love and even incapable of loving themselves. Let's imagine that there's Laura, whose parents only paid attention to her when she achieved something. All the rest of the time, they were too busy with life and work. Laura learned that to get attention and feel loved, she needs to be excellent at everything. This lesson persisted into her adulthood, and now she only chooses partners for whom she can never be enough. She improves her every imperfection and works hard to deserve love from this person, but of course, for them, it's never enough. It doesn't need to be the same as with Laura for you. And it doesn't even need to be about parents only. Maybe your grandparents or elder siblings were commenting on your every mistake. Maybe they put too much emphasis on your looks. Or maybe they kept telling you that you can't do anything without their assistance. If you keep dating the same person in different shapes over and over again, or if you only meet people who treat you in a specific way, the first step toward getting out of the loop is to understand how it can be traced back to your childhood. How did you have to deserve love from your caregivers? Did you need to fight for their attention with other siblings? It can be that you had to take care of your whole family, and now you only meet helpless and childish people longing for your parental support. Once you identify who from the past are those people for you and start your work on the healing of your inner child, here at HeyZen, we have a special episode about it. Actually, those dynamics are totally normal if both partners agree with them. So if you like taking the lead in relationships, or vice versa, want to be led, you don't need to burrow yourself into the past, trying to change something you and your partner are comfortable with. When you need to take a step back and look from beyond, it's when relationships are bothering you, when they're abusive from one of the sides, and you end up hurt and miserable. So take, for instance, the latest case that's bothering you, and analyze what feelings and thoughts were caused by it. Then compare all the rest of the relationships and find other similarities among them. You can say that you couldn't know from the very start that this person turned out to be so neglectful. But actually, take some still time to memorize your first encounters. Did they ask you any questions? Did they memorize any facts about you? Did they propose to meet themselves? Or maybe they told you straightforwardly that they don't need relationships right now. Back then, your brain preferred not to notice these signs because it's much easier to take on the same roles and play the same narratives. But from now on, you'll be able to spot this potential for your unhealthy pattern from the very beginning and decide not to continue. Without knowing and understanding ourselves, we see and hear what we want to see and hear. We can ignore all the objective facts, words, and even actions so as to fit this person into the frame of our pattern. What's extremely important but often overlooked is to pay attention to how you behaved. Can it be that you weren't expressing your needs clearly? Or maybe you did and said things you disagreed with to be liked by this person. Were you showing that you can be treated like a victim, a child, or a chaser for love? Of course, going into psychotherapy is very advisable in this case. A professional can untangle your past so that you can understand why you chose to behave like this. In the meantime, you can practice mindfulness and meditation to hear your inner voice. Actually, you already know the why behind your pattern, but it's difficult to recognize in the myriads of thoughts and worries. Once you start meditating, this chaos inside your head will slowly settle down, and in some time, you'll start to hear your inner voice that will tell you what you need to build beautiful relationships. Healthy choices are always the result of inner work. Dedicate more time to things you love and develop your skills in the areas you always wanted to. This way, you'll increase your self-respect and, as a consequence, you won't allow disrespect from others. The more sure you become of your own inherent worth and value, the less likely you are to put up with nonsense from anyone. You are the one who sets the standard for how others treat you by how you treat yourself. Now, as you learn how to notice red flags and your own behaviors that usually trigger this unhealthy pattern, you can turn it around and choose people who exhibit the opposite actions, real action, and not your fantasies. So let's say before you only liked those shy and introverted people who eventually revealed themselves as abusers. Now, you can try to befriend those who you didn't even notice before. For example, someone who is open and friendly. Here at HeyZen, we're focused on creating a version of ourselves that's balanced, calm, and joyful. But being self-aware and balanced isn't the ultimate destination. The state of mind you achieve once and never lose. Sometimes we become too engaged in the tumult of everyday life, and of course we fall into old patterns. Don't be harsh on yourself for being a human. A healthy life journey isn't a straightforward pathway laid out with flowers, but a diverse array of experiences, both challenging and rewarding. What distinguishes a healthy person is that they can understand their true feelings and needs. Instead of acting out of habit, which is like willingly jumping into a pit on your path, they spot this pit from afar and build new ways to overcome it. So, let's wrap up. Our journey is full of ebbs and flows, but through them, we're learning the depths of our minds and souls, applying the self-listening skills acquired in meditation and mindfulness practices. Keep going at your own pace, our fellow traveler. With HeyZen by your side, you're never alone on this path to self-discovery. See you in the next episode. And until then, be well.